Hold on one. Did you see what I just sent you?
Because as a small organization, we hadn't done anything illegal, but we put things together to make it happen. So trying to explain to her how $16,000 worth of home went into a project is like.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, James.
Maria, you there? What's going on?
I'm here. Is everybody ready to start? I haven't heard my cue from WITN. Hello?
We're ready.
How you doing
Okay.
anyway?
Everybody's doing great. It's 5:02, so let's get the meeting started. Let me see here. I'm just trying to find my view here. Okay, everyone, welcome to the virtual Community Development and Urban Planning Committee meeting. I am Councilwoman Maria Cabrera. I am the at-large council member. At this time, I would like the members of the committee to please introduce themselves.
Sinead Darby for the second district.
Yolanda McCoy, 6th District.
Cynthia Oliver, 3rd District.
Nathan Field, 1st District.
Nita Field, 5th District.
I don't see me on here.
Trooper Congo, Council President.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Loretta Walsh, council member at large.
James Spittle at large.
Okay, Gladys Spikes, Housing Opportunities of Northern Delaware.
Thank you. We're just having our committee members right now introduce themselves, and Council Member Walsh at large is one of our council members who is participating in the meeting. She is, however, not part of the committee meeting, but thank you, Councilman Walsh, for joining us. And this evening, we do have a full.
Councilmember Gray.
Oh, Councilman Gray, thank you for joining us. Any other council members that are with us this evening, aside from the committee members? Okay, not hearing any, we're going to proceed with the agenda items. So this evening, we do have a pretty full schedule, so let's try to move it along. We do have some presentations today, and we welcome our guest, Gladys Spikes from Housing Opportunities of Northern Delaware. We also have Rich Gessner here with the Land Bank. I see that we have some of our department heads with us as well. So we want to thank you all for joining. So with that said, we're going to start with the first agenda item, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to file the fiscal year 2022 annual action plan budget with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, including funding for the Community Development Block Grant Program, the Home Investment Partnerships Program, the Emergency Solutions Grants Program, and the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Program. Is there any questions that anybody has, any discussion that you would like to have? Now is the time. Council members, anyone, any comments? Not hearing any, we'll go to members of the public.
My hand's up, Councilwoman Cabrera.
Oh, sorry, I do have to monitor the hands, don't I? Let me find the hand, the hands cue. I think everybody has a challenge with the hands. Please go ahead, Councilmember Gray.
Okay, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that the HOPWA allocation is 824,000. This is in the attachment A for the for this resolution authorizing the mayor for the fiscal year 2022. And I'd like to know why that is so much more than any of the other categories. I guess I should explain. HOP, if you read the resolution, it's the program for housing for AIDS.
Okay, well, we do have our Director of Housing, Real Estate and Housing here, Director Bob Weir. And Director Weir, can you answer that question for Councilmember Gray?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The HOPWA funds are not only for the city of Wilmington, but for Newcastle County and also Cecil County. Newcastle County has decided not to accept HOPWA funds, and traditionally we have made those awards, and we also go into Cecil County for awards too for those services.
Okay, thank you. My other question, is there any place in this attachment with the CDBG funds where there's direct money allocated or available for Wilmington City residents to acquire housing?
There are initiatives for housing, as far as the Habitat for Humanity has an award. We're talking about their CHODO awards, Central Baptist CDC's awards. So there are organizations that are being awarded funds out of this grant for homeownership activities.
Does any of these aid people in down payment loan settlement?
No, there's no down payment settlement assistance per se in this budget.
Is there anyone that you're giving money to that has that type of assistance in this budget?
No, I don't believe so.
So is that something that we can possibly, I know that the CBDG funds covers that. So is there some way possible that we can incorporate that into our plan of uplifting the city? And because almost everything in here is toward providing housing, but it doesn't seem like there's anything in here to help someone acquire the housing. And we all know the biggest hurdle for buying a house is your down payment. Even getting an apartment, the biggest hurdle is having the security deposit and the first couple months rent. So I'm asking, is there any place here that we could fit that in?
Well, Councilwoman Gray, when we talked the other day about down payment settlement assistance, when we talked about the need and we talked about the ability for us to have systems like that, I believe that I expressed support for it and also agreed that it's a barrier to homeownership. As far as in this particular budget, there is nothing included, but that does not mean that it can't be included going in the future, but not out of this particular budget.
Thank you. And I have asked the mayor to meet with him to discuss this. So thank you for that. And also one thing that we had discussed, HUD does provide for administrative costs. That was something else that might be an impediment to going forward. But thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gray. And certainly I think that is something of interest to all of us. Now, as an example, we do have an organization with us tonight that helps with first-time home buyers and just help home buyers in general with some of the issues they come up with. So maybe Gladys could speak to that when she does her presentation a little later. I remember when the city used to have that program as well. But I will say that being in the process of buying a home myself and having just gotten pre-qualified, there are some excellent programs that the banks and our partners are providing that would help our city residents. And some of those programs, you do have to live within a geographical area. So for example, where I'm buying my home, that's a geographical area that bank would support the down payment assistance. Some of it is in the form of grants. Some of it, the grant, you don't have to pay back. Some of them, you don't even have to live there for 5 years or more. And others, you do have a time that you have to live there. And right now, the person who's providing those grants is the Delaware State Housing Authority. And they have a very generous program, which probably explains why the city is kind of, maybe not in the position to do that, but certainly something we can support and work on to complement if someone is buying in the city of Wilmington and encourage more home ownership in the city of Wilmington. Although right now it's hard to find a house anywhere. But thank you for bringing
Thank
it
you
up.
for the support. But the banks going geographically used to be called redlining. And so we're trying to do away with that. And like you say, make affordable housing throughout the city and start integrating the neighborhoods. Because believe it or not, HUD just sent out an analysis of the impediments of fair housing in Wilmington. And they call Wilmington a segregated city. Later on, I'll share more of it later in the meeting so you can get through your meeting. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gray. At this time, do we have any questions from the public or any other council members?
Madam Chair, my hand's up.
Yes, I
Thank
see.
you.
I see the hand.
Can we have, is it possible to have Director Ware just give a brief overview of this legislation, what it means for the city and for the taxpayers?
Director Weir?
At your pleasure, Madam Chair. This resolution is a process that starts in January, generally, where real estate and housing estimates what we're actually going to receive from HUD. This year, the total award was $1,833 and $1,833,308. This funding supports the action plan that the city will submit to HUD specifically for the coming year starting July 1. Real estate and housing met HUD requirements by advertising the funding availability through public notice on the city's website. And we actually directly contacted the previous applicants and grantees and all the organizations that throughout the year have asked about this funding. And we did that in the month of January of 2001. Real Estate and Housing held an informational meeting on January 29th. And we advertised the date of submissions, which was February 16th, and we offer technical assistance to any organization that needed it. The total amount of requests that was received by the deadline was $3,411,951. So it's obvious that there's great need and that the grant is limited in what it can do for the citizens. A review committee made up of internal staff and external members of the community reviewed 47 submissions. They ranked them in consistency with HUD requirements and the city's consolidated plan, which outlines proposed activities. The 47 applications, of those 44 were recommended for funding through this resolution. The 3 that were not recommended were funding that was from the same agency and was not specifically for citizens of Wilmington. Once the resolution is approved, we're going to proceed to enter into contracts with the grantees so that on or about July 1st, when the money is available, the agencies will be able to draw that down and then move that money directly into the community.
Thank you, Director Weir. You did such a better job than myself.
Thank you, Director. Quick follow-up, Madam Chair.
Yes, please do.
Director Ware, in terms of us administering the money for Cecil County, obviously there's an internal cost to the city for that. And do we get compensated through the administration costs for that?
Yes, there's a 20% admin cap. What we've done over the years is that it's kind of off the subject, but as far as there have been years where we've extended on top of that 20% and it's been picked up by the general fund. In the last 2 budgets, we've made a commitment that we would stay underneath that 20% cap. So not only is this money being granted to the city through the federal government, but the admin costs are also. So we've been very tight on keeping those costs under the cap, and that goes to servicing those contracts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Weir and Councilman Spadola. I see that Council Member Cynthia Oliver has her hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Now, I just want to give credit where credit's due with Director Weir. Anytime I call, send an email, he's always on point. So kudos to you for keep finding some money. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very kindly.
Thank you. And I think we all echo that, and we especially appreciated your budget presentation. It really gave us a clear overview of all the things that you do. So we thank you for that. Are there any other questions? I don't see any hands raised. However, anyone from the public at this point that would like to speak? Not seeing any, we are going to go ahead, and this resolution is going to be presented at the next council meeting, which would be next Thursday. We're going to move along to a substitute to ordinance number 21-007 to amend chapter 5 and 34 of the city code to require notice and an opportunity to appeal violations related to the failure to obtain a business license to operate a residential rental dwelling unit prior to the imposition of a civil fine. And this is sponsored by Council Member Darby, and she can go ahead, Council Member Darby, and speak to this.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Chair. I have a presentation, I guess WIPN can put up. And which legislation are we talking about first? I'm sorry.
We're talking to ordinance 21-007. That would be amending chapters 5 and 34 of the city code to required notice, an opportunity to appeal if someone has failed to obtain a business license, and before they get the fine, that they have an opportunity to appeal.
Yes, okay.
Before getting the fine.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So yes, the proposed ordinance will do as Chair Cabrera has stated. More specifically, landlords are required to obtain a business license for their rental property or pay a $500 fine if they fail to get one. And this ordinance will just give landlords a notice should they fail to obtain a business license and an opportunity to appeal and voluntarily comply prior to paying the fine. And why does this legislation matter? It's essential for landlords to obtain a license and register their rental property in order to keep track of rental stock and ensure it is clean and safe. The goal is not to collect fines from landlords, but to ensure compliance of the requirements And the next step of what needs to happen to get this legislation or this ordinance passed would be that in this committee, the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee, it is voted on out of this committee, and then at the next council meeting, voted on by the full body. So I'll open it up for questions. This was a prior amendment to what Councilwoman Chair Cabrera had proposed in regards to the housing reform light bill ordinance that she proposed. So I can open it up for questions.
So at this point, so basically what this does is it gives, when we switched in the Housing Code, Chapter 34, the amendment that we did, the Housing Reform, Chapter 34 to the City Code, we are now switching from criminal to civil. So what this does is it gives them an additional opportunity to appeal the fine and 30 days before they would get hit with the fine. So does anybody have any questions on this? You know, a lot of people think that the city is just, you know, not being as user-friendly, that we just want to, you know, just give out a bunch of fines. It is not the intention. The intention is that everyone should register those properties, that they should obtain a business license, because it's not fair if some people do and some people don't, and they're running their business. So this just makes it more user-friendly in the sense that you have additional time. And there are times where people say that their checks got lost in the mail or that the city did not receive. And usually the city does work with them and doesn't fine them. But since we are imposing fines, we want to make sure that there is a process for people to appeal. Are there any members of City Council? Okay, now we have our L&I Commissioner Starkey is going to speak a little bit more on this, and then we can entertain additional questions. Thank you, Commissioner Starkey.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a couple comments. First of all, when we found that individuals were doing this in the past, we didn't necessarily fine. We will give them an opportunity. So this just makes it official. And my other point is, one of the sections we just need to make sure it's relative. Section 86C, 3486C refers you back to 3437. And I think that's the criminal side. We just need to double check and make sure it's civil, because everything else is saying civil. And my last point is, you know, we're giving them 45 days versus 30 as we do. So it's 45 days what you want us in terms of the notice, and everything else is 30.
Councilmember Darby, did you want to answer that?
What was the specific question? Was it 30 versus 45 days?
This legislation says 45 days notice versus 30 and all the other civil stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that could just be a miss. We could follow the legislation and do 30 days. That's fine too. We can make that adjustment.
So what we would do is we would ask to amend that to 30 days instead of 45 days.
And then just check section 86.6, which refers you back to 3437, which is the criminal portion of the code.
Okay. Yes, with the change of the Housing Code, Chapter 34, from criminal to civil, some of the challenges that we're going to see with some of the ordinances, that in order for them to complement the new ordinance, the changes that were made, some of the verbiage has to be changed, not so much the spirit of the legislation, but that the technicalities of it. So Councilwoman Darby, I would recommend that for the council meeting, that we vote this out of committee tonight, going back to the law department and getting these minor changes made so that everything correlates with the new, with the changes that will be implemented July 1st.
Yes, I agree. We can do that.
Okay, great.
Madam Chair, this is Marcia. I'm not sure what the changes are because no one didn't say what page we on, where the changes been made. I mean, I heard what the commissioner said, but can somebody say what pages what the exact changes are so that we can make sure that information gets to Laura. I believe Laura is on as well, but we just want to make sure. I apologize, I didn't hear what the exact specific changes are, what pages, what section.
Commissioner, do you mind repeating that? I did make notes of it, but you have.
I'm on page 2, but the actual information is referred to the actual section. So you don't see the sections, the details of the sections in the ordinance. When you actually read the sections, that's where you'll see the 45 days. And then page 2, section 3486C refers you back, once you're in the 3486C, it refers you back to section 3437, which has the criminal side of it. So you don't see it in the actual ordinance. You would have to actually read the sections in order to find out where it is. So I don't know if that helps.
Okay,
So this
no,
has
well,
to-
that helps. Okay.
It has to be inserted into the actual ordinance, those sections.
Yes, it needs to be inserted in the actual ordinance. And when we vote this out, I mean, we need to say how it's amended so that we know. And Laura is on from the law department, you know, because we want to make sure we have those correct changes when we vote this out as amended.
Laura, did you want to speak to this, please?
Just that I understand the recommendation from Commissioner Starkey, and I will make the changes and email them to Councilmember Darby to review before I send it on. But I understand what Commissioner Starkey is referring to. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I truly appreciate that.
And Laura, I could get with you tomorrow just to go through and make sure we're on the same page.
Absolutely. I'll send you an email, Commissioner.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I'm sure Councilmember Darby does as well. I see a question from Councilman Spadola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure after we pass the first piece of legislation, you and I think Jeff, we exchanged some emails and I stated how I'd made a commitment to one of the landlords about one of their concerns about how somebody could technically buy a property one day, and if it was already rented out, they could have gotten a violation right away. And I just want to make sure from reading this that this would satisfy that concern, as they would just get a warning. Is that right, Mr. Starkey?
You would get a violation. It's saying we have to send you a violation. And the violation in this ordinance says 45 days. And the proposal is to move it to 30 like everything else.
But I'm saying they would get the warning before.
Warning is the violation. That's a warning.
Gotcha.
Same thing.
And if it's taken care of within that time frame, it's no issue. No payment. Okay.
The only thing I dislike about it, we have to send it certified, but that's what's in the ordinance.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council members? Not hearing any or seeing any hands raised. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this? Okay, so not hearing anything, we're going to go ahead.
Madam Chair, there are 2 hands up.
Council President, Councilmember Cabrera, Rosaria Tasson wishes to speak on this ordinance.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Hi, Councilwoman Cabrera. It's Rose. I just wanted to clarify with regard to the ordinance. I think what Jeff is looking at is what the code currently says. The code that is online hasn't been updated by Municode to reflect the changes that happened in February. So when that ordinance goes into effect as of January 1, you should see the correct language in the current code. So it is a 30-day period to comply. And the penalty section that is referred to in the substitute ordinance covers both the criminal, which is, remains for the non-rental, and the civil.
Okay.
So we'll double check it, but that's what I think Jeff is seeing. you're, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, you're
Correct.
looking at what
That's
the code currently says. It just may not be updated in Municode. The ordinance was passed in February, so that is what the law is currently, but it goes into effect July 1.
That is correct. I was looking at Municode earlier.
That's all. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. I appreciate that because that way now we know that what we're working with. I see that we do have two other members from the public who have their hands up. We'll start with Cheyenne Miller.
Hi, my name is Cheyenne Miller. I'm a resident in the 7th District and I'm a Homes Campaign volunteer. We are definitely glad to see policies that will look at compliance as opposed to just collecting fines from residents of the city. We want to make sure that all of the rental properties are registered and that the landlords are following the rules, because we know that this has an impact on whether or not other rules are followed in terms of keeping homes up to code, keeping them clean, keeping them safe. And we also know that, fines for the sake of fines don't make sense. So we're very supportive of policies that will start to look at compliance and give landlords a chance to follow the rules about getting their registering their property. So we want to say thank you for putting this forward and just say we are supportive.
Thank you, Ms. Miller, for your words. And we also have Ms. Renee Spruill. You may go ahead, Ms. Renee.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just want to say thank you. When the previous ordinance was passed and there were concerns raised by the landlords, a lot of the council members promised that they would make amendments to address some of our concerns. So I just want to say thank you for following through with the promises that were made. We greatly appreciate it. And I think, speak on behalf of a lot of the other landlords, including the Greater Wilmington housing providers, that we are in support of this amendment. And once again, we all thank you for keeping our concerns.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Renee. We appreciate your support. I gotta go. Are there any other questions? Anyone else? Okay, well, not hearing any. I would like to move forward. Substitute 2 to ordinance number 21-007 to amend chapter 5 and 34 of the city code, and would like to call for a yay or nay vote on the question. Can I have a motion? I'm sorry. May I have a motion?
Motion.
On the question? Not hearing any. Let's go to a yay or nay vote. All in favor?
Madam Chair, do we need a second?
Oh, yeah, we do need a second. Sorry. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Now we can go to a yay and nay vote. All in favor? So,
Aye.
Yes.
aye. Any opposed? Okay, not hearing any. This will be at the next council meeting, which is next Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Moving along to the next item on the agenda is substitute 1 to ordinance number 21-008, amend chapter 5 of the city code to require detailed owner information on application for a business license to operate a residential rental property. Councilmember Darby will speak to this.
Yes, we have a slide for this. So I don't know how this works, but I was wondering if it'd be possible if we can hold this legislation. Is that possible?
Yes, Councilmember Darby, there's a lot of background noise. I'm not sure if that's coming from you or someone else. If people can mute their phones, please. Thank you. So would you
Yes, no, I was wondering with this legislation, I think it was mixed in, because it wasn't just supposed to address residential properties in regards to adding race and gender. So there needs to be some edits made. But the purpose of this legislation was to require more details about the owner on the application for a business license in order to operate a rental property. So we added 3 things. We want 3 things to be added to the business license. Race and gender was supposed to be added to the business license in general to be able to collect and have a better data collection on how many minority-owned or women-owned businesses exist in the city of Wilmington. And then the second component of this was adding on the business license application, if someone if they're affiliated with multiple LLCs that are residential that operate a rental property. So there are some landlords or individuals who own multiple LLCs, and there's no way to really connect on who owns the LLC. So we're just asking for in the application for them to just list the LLCs that they're looking for. So yes, that is the legislation is just to provide more transparency about who owns rental properties in Wilmington.
So at this point, Councilmember Darby, does the ordinance that you're presenting this evening include those details? Or do you need to have that rewritten and presented at another meeting?
Yeah, that one needs to be rewritten, this one, yes.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull this ordinance from tonight's meeting, and we will not be voting on this, and we will present this at a future meeting. Thank you so much. Moving along to the next ordinance, the 21-021, amend Chapter 4 of the City Code to provide for civil fines for owners of vacant properties who fail to register them. The sponsor is Councilmember Darby, and you can speak to this.
Yeah, so this legislation provides civil fines for owners of vacant properties that fail to register with the city. It requires that all vacant properties are registered, including those owned by the city, the Wilmington Land Bank, and the Wilmington Housing Partnership. And this matters because all vacant properties, no matter who they're owned by, should be registered. This is an issue of transparency and thorough data collection about vacant properties for our city. Our goal is to encourage compliance to have more safe and healthy housing. So what needs to happen tonight, the CDC committee must vote this proposed ordinance out of committee, and then it must be voted by all members of city council during a full body meeting. So I'm going to open this ordinance up for any questions for me to clarify anything.
Are there any questions from council members on this particular ordinance? And Commissioner Starkey, is there anything you would like to speak to on this ordinance?
No, I don't have any problems with this ordinance. Just a bit of information, city properties and land bank properties are all registered. Every vacant property is registered from that standpoint. So they're just not assessed a fee.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Not seeing any members of council at this point. Is there anyone from the public that has any questions on this ordinance? Any comments? We have Cheyenne Miller's hand. Cheyenne, you may speak.
Hi again, Cheyenne Miller, 7th District with the Homes Campaign. Just want to say it's really great to also see policies that are looking at making sure we're counting all the vacants across the city. We think this could be the start of more data transparency around how many vacants there are and where the vacants are. And we hope that this will also get us on the track of helping make sure the vacants become owner occupied or become rental properties so that we can reduce homelessness in the city and so that we can improve housing stock across the city. So thank you for this legislation.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. And we also have Pat Bartoszewski. Mr. Pat or Miss Pat, you may go ahead and speak.
I was wondering what you estimate as the current gap in information. Are most properties registered? Some properties? How much improvement will this provide?
Thank you, Ms. Bartoszewski. That's a very good question. Councilmember Darby, would you like to answer that? And we could also have the commissioner chime in. Councilmember Darby?
Yeah, so the purpose of this legislation is to increase compliance. So we want to try to get a better understanding of how many vacant properties there are and to make sure all vacant properties are registered. So we know the criminal process did not work. So the first step in dealing with vacants would be this. So this isn't going to solve all the issues, but it will help to mitigate some of the issues that do exist, and helping to make sure that vacant properties are registered by going the civil route, civil fine or civil code route, rather than criminal, which has not worked to increase compliance at all.
And at this point, Commissioner Starkey, one of the questions was, do we see a problem right now with properties that aren't registered? Do we know how many are registered, how many we suspect are not? And how this legislation would address that, to answer Ms. Barczewski's question?
Well, I think we have a pretty good handle in terms of vacancies. Obviously, there are going to be a number of vacancies that are out there that we don't know. But our best source of information is neighbors kind of tell us when they're particularly vacant. So I don't know if it's going to increase or decrease, but again, we have a good handle on the amount of vacancies. We have district inspectors who monitor their area for vacant properties. This just makes it more civil, and we're able to expedite, the penalty for not registering the vacancies.
Thank you, Commissioner Starkey. So I would like to add that when we went ahead and we amended Chapter 34 of the Housing Code, that now we went from criminal to civil for rental properties. This also includes the vacants, and this legislation being presented by Councilwoman Darby is going to address this, excellent piece of legislation. However, what is going to happen if we move forward with the legislation as it is written, there are some technicalities in terms of the verbiage and where this would be placed within Chapter 34 of the Housing Code, which would then require an amendment to be made to this legislation come August 1st, when it changes from criminal to civil. So at this point, Council Member Darby, we have two choices. We can either vote this out of committee and then try to get the amendments and provide an amendment by the next council meeting, or we can hold it and have the revised copy that will then mesh and correlate with the Housing Code, Chapter 34, when it gets implemented August 1st. So that way it matches up and we just have one ordinance. So it really is up to you. If you want to leave this here, we can vote it out, or we can present the amendment at the next meeting and then have the one legislation.
Present it at the next meeting, Chair.
Okay, so you want to hold it and then we'll present it at the next committee meeting versus at the next council meeting?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so we will not be voting this out of committee. You will see this come back up again with the changes. Are there any questions from the council members or the attendees on what we're doing? I see Councilwoman Oliver, you have your hand raised. Please speak.
No, I was just going to just tell Councilman Darby, good job.
Thank you so much. Okay, at this point, we do not have any other ordinances or resolutions to move forward. So we're going to go ahead to our guest this evening, which we have Richard Gessner from the Land Bank. And I know we have a lot of questions about the Land Bank, how it operates, what are they doing, including some that just came up in terms of registering any of the vacant properties. So we have a wonderful presentation by the Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank. And at this point, I would like to welcome Mr. Richard Gessner, and you may proceed with your presentation. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And members of the committee. Just going to walk you through some slides. These are actually houses, one of our first projects on West 9th Street. If we go to the next slide. So in 2013, a small group started meeting to see if it was viable to start a land bank in Delaware. We then specifically decided that we really wanted to focus on the city of Wilmington. So in 2015 and 2016, enabling legislation was passed both in Dover and by City Council and signed by the mayor, and it created the Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank. The legislation basically states that our purpose is to return vacant, dilapidated, abandoned, and delinquent properties back to productive use. We get our properties from the city, from tax sales, and also from individual donations. The properties are held for redevelopment either as individual properties or in groups looking towards developing larger projects. We acquire strategic properties and transfer them also to local nonprofits to support revitalization and redevelopment. Just to give you a sense, I want you to understand what we are and what we aren't. What we are is really a recycler. We're our purpose is to go in and take non-productive property and turn it back into productive property. What we aren't, we are not a developer. We work with developers, both nonprofit and for-profit, but we do not act as a developer. We're not a real estate firm. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're not a speculator. We're not going in and trying to, pick properties up in neighborhoods. To just make a profit for the nonprofit. We're actually trying to have a positive influence on bringing properties back into productive use throughout the city of Wilmington. Next slide. So the way we do that, we started with our homestead program, and the idea there is people that want to buy a home and fix it up. We have properties that are available. They're able to purchase those properties for $1. We work with them to make sure that they or their contractor is skilled and able to finish that. We basically have things in place so that the property is, the construction redevelopment is started within a 12-month period, because we don't want people just acquiring properties and then not making them productive again. Second program that we started this past year is working with investors who are willing to put their capital in to take properties and turn them back into home ownership. And this, the street name for this is fix and flip. It's basically go in, take a property, make the investment in it, and then find a homeowner that's interested in owning those homes. Next slide. One of the other things that we've been very successful at is, especially in projects where we're doing demolition, we're able to work with the next door neighbors and basically allow them to have more green space. So this is, you own the property next to one of ours and it's available. We work with the neighbors to get those properties into the ownership and the maintenance by the local resident. Our newest initiative is working with investors to do rehabilitation for affordable rental. And again, we comply with all the HUD rules on this and make sure that the properties that the investors are buying are actually being rehabbed properly, and then also are priced so that they are affordable rentals. Next slide. Just to give you a sense of what we've been able to do. Look, it takes a while to get things up and running, but we've really been able to get this underway. I think our greatest achievement to date has been in the middle of COVID in 2020. We were able to keep moving forward, and we had our most successful year. But we're having a great year this year, and I believe we're gonna be able to actually beat the numbers that we did in 2020. And to date, we have 92 affordable home ownership opportunities created and underway, and fully 2/3 of the people that are our applicants in reinvesting are residents of the city of Wilmington. To give you a bit of background, currently we have 107 side lots and 126 structures in our portfolio. Next slide. One of the things that we've worked at right from the beginning is working with both the Nature Conservancy and the Delaware Center for Horticulture. We've been going around the city and targeting areas for vacant lots to do clean and green. They go in, they remove all the garbage and the debris from the lot, reseed it, and then install wood fence around the perimeter. And then we actually have our staff who drives around daily, and they check those lots. We've also done some with urban gardens. I know that there's a lot of concern by council about how that's done. We don't move or do anything on urban gardens unless the city council person for that district is involved and the local neighborhood association is involved, and we have them work with the Delaware Center for Horticulture. Next slide. One of the things we've been very successful at is trying to go and eliminate blight in homes that just are not in a position to be able to be rehabbed. To date, we've removed over 35 unsafe structures throughout the city, and that has cost over $1.5 million. It's expensive to do demolition in the city because most of these are interior townhomes, and so you have to deal with safety issues, taking them down, and then making sure that the adjacent property is bricked and that the lot is greened. Next slide. So we've been able, over the past 4 years, we've really been able to build some very valuable partnerships. Our technical advisory board has over 20 members of other nonprofits and community members on it. They meet monthly, and they've been very strategic in helping us identify projects throughout the city. Our 9th Street revitalization project, which is currently underway, was funded with grants from both JP Morgan Chase and Delaware State Housing Authority. And it's had a very, very strong impact on that street. And I really, once we're out of all this COVID, I'm hoping we have an opportunity for you to come and take a look at the properties. We worked with a national real estate developer, the NCRC, National Community Reinvestment Coalition, and they have, they're in the process of finishing up 6 rehab units. And then Interfaith Community Housing, we worked with them, and they will be building 3 new constructed units this summer. We meet with the city on a weekly basis. To date, the city has transferred 76 properties to us, and we have a pipeline of properties that we're looking to work with them on in the future. Cornerstone West, we were partners with them on the 700 block of Douglas Street. We were able to acquire the property and fund it with $70,000. And that's actually a project for youth that are transitioning out of foster care. Next slide. Again, NCRC, one of the bigger developers of affordable housing throughout the United States. I actually had a long time relationship with them. They were the only group nationally that fought the ING Direct Capital One merger. And so I got to deal with them in my position at the time with both ING and Capital One. They were adversaries, and they've turned into friends and partners. And they're very good affordable housing developers. And we've been very happy with the work that they've done in the city so far. We work with Central Baptist Church CDC. They are our maintenance team. We have 8 full-time City of Wilmington residents that work, and they are the ones that are dealing with both our side yard and our structures, and they're out on the street every day. We've been working in West Center City with SENAIR, Delaware Valley Development Corporation, and with grants from DSHA, we've been able to get a number of properties purchased and working towards revitalization on the west side. We've got a number of other partnerships, including Cineris Jumpstart program. We work very closely with Habitat for Humanity. In call, we're currently working with the Woodlawn trustees. Next slide. So that's my presentation. Maria asked me to keep it relatively short, just so you have a sense of what we've been able to accomplish. When we originally started and we got the enabling legislation passed, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the city, and the city was going to provide us with $1.5 million in funding each year for 10 consecutive years. To date, we've received $2,441,000. We're budgeted for this coming year for $500,000. I want you to understand that the whole idea of the city funding was to be able for us to go out and get other funding from both corporations and from foundations. To date, of our total funding, roughly 44% has come from the city of Wilmington, 2.441 million, and an additional 3.15 million has come from the state of Delaware corporations and individuals who have donated property. When you look at it, these are properties that the city would have to deal with whether the land bank existed or not. So I think that we've shown that we're an all volunteer board. We have a very small but very capable staff of 2 people, and we've had a positive impact. And I believe we're positioned to even have a more positive impact going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gessner. Truly, it's amazing to see all the projects that you have worked on across the city. I, being a resident of West Center City, I'm very much aware of the 9th Street properties that were just taken over, renovated. I did not have an opportunity to go over there and see the indoors. I certainly would like to do that. So thank you so much for your presentation. I'm sure that we have some questions. I would like to start when you had mentioned the DSHA is helping you in that area that you partner with, specifically you mentioned in West Center City. How are they helping? Are they helping to provide funding, revitalize, or are they helping with the homeowners to become homeowners to purchase these properties? What exactly, how are they partnering?
Sure. So DSHA has been a very positive partner with us from the beginning. To date, they have provided us with approximately $1.6 million in funding. They also have provided our potential homeowners with funding, and we work with potential both on the homesteads and on projects like West 9th Street to make sure that people that are looking to buy properties are aware of the various both city and DSHA funding that is available.
So one of the things, thank you so much for that. One of the things that I think some of our audience would like to know a little bit more about and how we can help get the word out is, so if someone is interested in purchasing a land bank property, what are the prerequisites? What do they have to do? What are the average prices? How does that look like in terms of purchasing the land bank or going through the homestead program? I remember the homestead program back when Mayor Frawley, one of the houses in Trinity vicinity was the first homestead property. I walk past it all the time with the dog, and it did help really renovate a lot of neighborhoods. People bought the houses, they fixed them up, and they had to live in them. Can you just elaborate a little bit on those programs? If anyone out there, especially with a housing shortage, needs a place to live, wants to buy a property, what are the procedures? What are the processes? What do they do?
Sure. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. The homestead program, you purchase a house for $1. Now, we want people to be successful, and most of our properties need an incredible amount of work. These are not go in and paint and clean type deals. These are properties that are going to require $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 worth of renovation. So our Chief Operating Officer, Ray Saccamundi, works with the individual buyers to make sure that they or their team, because in most cases they'll have a contractor that they're working with, that they have the financing or have the capability of getting the financing, and then have the right team together to make sure that they're going to be successful in rehabbing the property. If you're an investor, look, we'd like to get the highest value we can get for the properties. The reality is most of these properties are going to sell for approximately $1,000. And so the idea is not for Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank to make a profit. It's to get unproductive properties back into productive use. We have a website, and we look forward to anybody. You can call us, contact us by email. We get, on average, since the COVID crisis started, we're getting 40 to 50 phone calls a day. So there's a lot of interest, and it's a real opportunity, especially for people to have skills. If you have any type of building trade that you can do, it's a real opportunity to use your sweat equity and either get a home or get a property that you can help get back into the affordable housing market.
Great. One more question, because I do want to allow for other council members and members of the public to ask. Because I know that from what I understand is if you buy a land bank property, yes, you have to fix it up, but then it's required that you live in it for X amount of years. They're only available for homeowners. Is that true? Because I heard you mention investors.
So the homestead program is only for people that are going to live in the home, and you need to live in the home for a period of 5 years. Both the fix and flip investor to home ownership and the investor rental. And we were slow. We really focused on homestead to begin, but we need to be realistic. 50% of the homes in Wilmington are rentals, 50% are homeowners. So if we ignored rental, we would not be having as much an impact as I believe we will by working with rentals. But we make sure that the developers that we work with, either individuals or groups, nonprofits or for-profit, are qualified, have the financing, and have the capability of doing the project. And we are, for a 5-year period, they have to show that it either goes to a homeowner or it stays as an affordable rental for that time period.
Okay, that's great, because right now, one of the issues is that if we do have this property and we have investors that can fix and flip, we do have a housing shortage. There's people that need places to live. We're actually don't even have any rentals either, at least good, decent rentals. So this is really good to know. Thank you so much for answering my questions. Are there any members from City Council that would have any questions now before I open it to the public? I'm looking for the hands. Any of my colleagues, any questions about the land bank and how it operates? Well, oh, there we go. We have Chief of Staff. Oh, well, before we go to the Chief of Staff, we have Council Member Brigida Fields.
Yes, I just want to say thank you so much for your presentation. I did meet with your 2 staff members personally as a new council member to actually find out, the ins and outs about land bank. My only question for you is how diverse are your partnerships when it comes to investors that want to build affordable housing? Like, how diverse is it? I mean, I know you gave us the big names, but how diverse are your other partners?
I will have to get you the exact numbers, but I would say that a large number of the local investors / contractors that we're working with are minority contractors. It's an area we put a lot of focus into. We have, before COVID started, we were doing, we were reaching out into the community. We did a number of meetings. And so we try to work with everyone throughout the city, but we have really had a good push into working with women and minority-owned business people and investors to help them have an opportunity to invest in Wilmington.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. And I just want to say you all are doing a really good job with the presentations and just keeping, I can't speak for other people, but I know I just took the initiative myself to find out exactly how because I'm in the 5th district, so I have plenty of land bank homes. I meet with Senior once a month. So you guys are doing a good job to ensure that West Center City has affordable housing. And I know that you're working with great investors and contractors to build these homes. So good job. I just wanted to ask that one question. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember
Thank you.
Field.
And I just like to say to any of the council members, if you're interested in meeting with either members of the board or our staff, or to look at some of the properties, we are available to do that and look forward to working with you and showing you the properties.
Thank you, Mr. Gessner. And now I'm going to go to Chief of Staff, Ms. Tanya Washington.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say how critically important it is to continue to support the land bank. When it was initially created, the city's commitment was to fund it by the way of $1.5 million a year over a 10-year period. Obviously, that didn't happen. We're about $5 million behind that number. So, I mean, if the bottom line is, and Mr. Gessner is definitely right in this, is that these properties would lie within the city if the land bank did not maintain them and take care of them and try to flip them, to turn them into viable properties for rentals or homeowners. So I just wanted to mention the fact that it's really important that we continue to support them by way of resources. I mean, we initially had allocated $500,000 this year, but it's not nearly enough. But cutting that funding would definitely impair the organization.
Thank you, Chief of Staff Washington. With that said, that is something that we're going to revisit for this coming budget, because yes, it was reduced to 500,000. And as we are moving forward and focusing on neighborhood stabilization, we do have this once in a lifetime opportunity with the Recovery Act funds that focus on infrastructure. And certainly we can use those funds to continue to build our city. And maybe that is the thought, that we would use those funds instead of putting it in the budget, because again, we are at a shortfall and we didn't raise taxes this time around, but we know that COVID has affected all operational budgets for all entities, and the city is not without that. But if possible, I hope that we can entertain possibly putting those funds back in for the land bank so we can make a full impact. And so this is something that we will discuss at another time, but I thank you both for bringing that up. Mr. Gessner, I do have one more question. Let me see. I wrote it down I was just reading that there is such a shortage on lumber right now, and the prices have escalated, and shortage of construction supplies. Is this impacting any of the contractors or constructions for the land banks and slowing down the process to make them available either for sale or so they're not vacant and people inhabiting them?
So yeah, so plywood prices are up approximately 300% in the past year. If you go in to buy a sheet of plywood, you'll have sticker shock. Beyond that, there's other construction materials. If you're buying anything that has a computer chip in it, good luck. I mean, it's not there. It could be something as simple as an entry light at your porch that has a computer chip in it to, see motion and goes on. Right now, trying to get materials like that is difficult. We're working with our both homesteaders and with our investors. We're giving them some leeway on timing, because we realize that this, people had budgets, and now, wood prices have jumped up. Now, as an overall cost of your renovation, wood costs are probably 20%. So it's having an impact, but it's slowing things down, but it's not stopping the redevelopment. And I just read an article this afternoon that a number of members of Congress are putting pressure on President Biden to deal with this and I mean, right now, the previous presidential administration put tariffs on Canada. Some of those have been removed. Members of Congress are asking for all of them to be removed so that the price of lumber comes back to a more manageable level.
Thank you. Yes, I was reading the same article and I hope that does that happen. And I don't see any other hands up. I have one last question. If a nonprofit wants to acquire a property, is there a reduced fee? Is there a way for them to get it at no cost? How does the land bank make these properties or land that the land bank owns available to a nonprofit organization, churches, whomever?
So we've worked with a number of nonprofits throughout the city, from Interfaith Community Housing to Habitat for Humanity, and as I used in the one example on the community center that was built for the youth. We have had a policy from the beginning that any property that we look at it much like we do a homestead, it's a dollar transfer. We are not looking to make money off of any of the nonprofits. We're trying to partner with them, and where they want to either acquire a side lot or acquire a structure. We've been very successful in working with a number of nonprofits, and we hope to really be able to expand that. That's one of the reasons that the Technical Advisory Board, which is actually led by Kevin Smith, who's the Executive Director of Habitat and who sits on our board. We've got over 20 nonprofits that are partners, and any nonprofit in the city of Wilmington that would like to participate in that, please contact me and we'll get you involved.
Great. Last but not least, can you just give us your contact information if anybody wants to give you a call, send you an email, and the website?
Sure. And you know what? I don't have the website right in front of me because I use it all the time. It's sort of like, you forget.
You know what? You just do a Google search, because that's how I found you.
We're up on the we're up on the web. Just put in Wilmington. Just put in Wilmington Land Bank or Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank, and
I think it's the Wilmington Land Bank Conservancy, something like that. And how about a phone number
and
for the office? Now, am I putting you on the spot? I'm sorry.
No, I'm gonna give it to you because I've got it right here.
Okay.
It's gonna take me a second, but
no worries. Is there any questions before we move along to the next presentation from council members or from the public? Gosh, I guess I was the only one who had questions. Maybe I should have just met with you separately like Councilwoman Fields did. But I'm sure that the questions that I had are the ones that are being asked of me in public, and people want to know. And I have gotten so many phone calls from churches who want to either acquire land so they can have parking or have events, who want to start a church in the city, a family who would like to buy a property and fix it up. So, these are questions that they're asking me. I refer them to the website and try to answer as many of the questions as I can. So I'm glad that you came to answer some of my questions. And I was one of the council members that was on board in 2013 when all the research was being done around the land bank, and an avid supporter of doing this. So I'm so glad to see the organization up and running, and thank you all for the great work that you're doing. We'll take that phone number now and we'll move along to this.
So the emails, the website is wilmingtonlandbank.org.
Okay, wilmingtonlandbank.org. And if anyone has questions, they can also call the City Council office at 302-576-2140, and we'd be happy to share any information with you. Don't worry, Rich, if you don't have the phone number, people can call us and we'll give it to them.
It's 302
okay, there we go.
746-6009.
Great. Well, we thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll be in future conversation, especially about that budget item. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thanks.
And at this point, it is my pleasure and honor to present my housing counselor, Ms. Gladys Spikes, who, yes, I went back and did my first time home buyer program with her and got ready so that I can now be a home buyer in the city of Wilmington, a property owner. I did own a house for 23 years and I was planning to go back, but then I kind of got stalled and was waiting to see where and when. So after 6 years of not being a homeowner, I am returning to that hopefully in June. And I want to thank you, Ms. Gladys, for the work that you do for everyone, as well as helping me. So at this point, we want everyone to learn about the great work of Housing Opportunities of Northern Delaware, just coming out of Fair Housing Month in April, where Ms. Gladys celebrated her anniversary and did a wonderful presentation. How can people become homeowners in the city of Wilmington? You're on, Ms. Spikes.
Okay, thank you. Should I share?
Yes, you have a PowerPoint. I believe WITN, do you have her PowerPoint available?
You should.
There it is.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before this committee. I'm Gladys Spikes, Executive Director of Housing Opportunities of Northern Delaware, and everybody knows us locally as HON. We're the only fair housing advocacy agency servicing the state of Delaware, specifically the city of Wilmington and Newcastle County. Our mission is stated on the slide, as you can read at your leisure. Basically, you just need to know that we believe that everyone should have equal access to housing, whether you're trying to buy a house, rent an apartment, get a mortgage to buy a house, or buy homeowners insurance and public accommodations. I know that you probably have already received this presentation, or if you haven't, I just want to point out that HON was established to support Newcastle County and the city of Wilmington as they initially applied for community development block grant funds back in 1981. And as a result of us providing the services that we have over the years, the city of Wilmington has been able to, which was a requirement for them to have an advocacy agency, we were able to assist in the city of Wilmington applying and receiving hundreds of millions of funds from the U.S. Department of HUD. In 1983, though, the Wilmington City Council passed an ordinance which made HON designated to actually be an advisor on matters including equal housing opportunities and also to provide advocacy for our constituents. You can read on with the slide, and it shows how we have over the years provided rental sales, mortgage industry, rental sales and mortgage testing for predatory lending. And we've also provided numerous activities to support any person who would feel that they were discriminated against. They could come to us and we would provide the advocacy for that. Over the years, we provided 50 fair housing law education workshops, 24 fair housing law forums. And I think that Councilwoman Cabrera was speaking about how we just had our last one, which included the statewide fair housing impediment analysis and impediment study, which is most crucial for us to be able to move forward and diversify our neighborhoods. Next slide, please. On this slide, it just actually points out all of the 13 areas of the protected classes under the fair housing law that are covered here in the state of Delaware. And as you can see, it's really expansive, and it includes, many of us are involved in many of the classes that you see there. At the bottom, it says that the Fair Housing Law, congruent with Fair Housing Act, Title 8, in terms of what is prohibited under the Fair Housing Law in the areas of the real estate transactions, disability, and public accommodations, and seeking rental housing. Next slide, please. And here it just breaks out what I've just generally spoke to you about in the previous slides. The fact that we do have an annual Fair Housing Law Observance and Awards Symposium, where we did feature the statewide Fair Housing Analysis Impediment Study. And at the bottom, you'll see that we have a targeted audience that is very expansive and includes all of the city employees, real estate attorneys, all of the individuals that are in the housing industry, and housing counselors. And it shows also our partners that help us to do our job. Next slide, please. So here I'm going to elaborate just a little bit more, because thank you, Councilman Cabrera, for giving us kudos for helping you to become a homeowner. And I just want to address the issue that I haven't really heard in the previous presentation with the land bank about the importance of, I know that your staff person is working with the individual who's buying that homestead house, but it's most important that they understand what the process is and how they can be very responsible, and to ensure that they have all of the tools that they need in order to qualify to be a first-time home buyer. And here is listed those individual programs that we do have available. In the first-time home buyer certified housing counseling certificate, the home buyer education program, as you can see, is an 8-hour course, and it covers the basics for home buying. You'll notice that we always speak about the importance of budgeting and credit repair. All of that is involved in this first-time home buyer certified housing counseling certificate. You can complete the program in 2 parts. The first part, it can be offered through the eHome America online course, and you would receive, it's a 15 modules. The fee for the first-time homebuyer housing counseling course is $125, and that's paid initially if you are to I'm sorry. So when it's most important. I've seen more than 6,000 families over the years. We have been established since 2000. Well, actually, we've been established with housing counseling since 1989, but we're now a certified housing counseling agency with a certified housing counselor, and we've been doing the work since 2001. And during that course of time, I've seen more than 5,000 to 6,000 families. I would say that maybe 40% of the families that I've seen over the years were city residents. As you can see that we were providing, pre-COVID, we were providing homebuyer education classes, but now we changed our process. And now we are interviewing and having our courses and our sessions by telephone or by Zoom. We pride ourselves in the fact that we provide one-on-one housing counseling, and I've seen every family that's going through this course. And as a result, we have a 97% retention. In fact, I'm running into people on the street now that have been in their houses for 20 and 30 years. Okay, next slide, please. This just basically shows you the different programs that we have available under our Fair Housing Law Education and Counseling Program. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we have a video that we want you to know, want you to learn very quickly about the fair housing law.
Stand by. We might have to, we're having problems with that.
Okay, so should I just, can I do it from here?
We can give you screen sharing access.
Okay. Screen sharing. Okay, thank you.
You should be able to screen share now.
Okay. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, here. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you got your Zoom up right now, but if you're sharing your screen, you just go to your slides and then they'll pop up.
Go to my slides, okay.
Yeah, go to your slides. Right now, you are sharing your screen, it's working, but we see your Zoom page.
Okay, let me just.
I mean, you know how to sell your programs best. You really don't need this.
No, I'm just, okay, we're gonna skip this. We can go back. Okay, so thank you for the next slide. All right, so I told you about the Certified Housing Counseling Program certificate course, and we also incorporate fair housing education and pre-purchase workshops as well. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, one of the other programs that we have under the housing counseling that's most important, and I want all of you to be aware of, is the mortgage delinquency and default resolution counseling. And once again, we also offer one-on-one housing counseling. And these are the different ways that we can help the city residents to try to retain their homes. We have been participating with the mediation process, or court order mediation process, since 2013. And we've been able to help more than 300 families over time to retain their homes by acquiring affordable mortgages and redesigning their loans so that they can afford to pay them, or they either have set themselves up for a repayment plan. We've worked with FHA in partial claims so that they could have affordable mortgages as well. And we do also offer interfacing with the lender and our city residents as we try to work out the best plan and the most positive financial package to submit for approval. Housing Opportunities has also provided assistance to those citizens who applied for the DSHA's DMAP COVID grant that was offered under the CARES Act. We were able to help about 50 families that way. And the way the program worked was if they were affected by COVID-19 in any way, then they would receive a grant. If they qualified, of course, they would receive a grant that would pay all of their delinquent fees during that time span. And then I'm continuing to work with those families because they're they might have taken on the COVID forbearance program with their lender. And I continue to work with them, and we've been quite successful in helping them to get back into the mainstream and apply for a loan modification so they can continue to retain their homes. Next slide, please. I didn't really mention it, but we do have credit repair, and that is also involved in all of our programs. And credit budget management, we prepare a customized action plan for them to work with outside of our sessions. And we've been quite successful in convincing them that they don't need to buy a car if they're trying to purchase a home. We teach them about the ratio, housing ratios. And also we've had great partners. We've worked with the Delaware State Housing Authority all the time and participate in all their programs, their down payment settlement assistance programs. And I want to address one of the questions that Councilman Gray asked about whether the city had a down payment settlement assistance program. And it is true, as Councilperson Cabrera stated, years ago we did have that. And they do kind of have it when they participate in federal programs like the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. But currently, if a home buyer that lives in the city would like to buy a home in the city, they would have to participate with Delaware State Housing Authority that does have great down payment settlement assistance programs. But I think that it would be quite helpful if we could find a way to bring the city programs that were available before back so that we could encourage more families to be able to have the funding for purchasing homes, not through the land bank, but through the general way. I would also want to say that housing counselors are the key to helping the city of Wilmington to maintain the homes that are already with our existing homeowners. And I'm a true advocate for housing counselors. In fact, there's a group of housing counselors besides Housing Opportunities that participate with the Delaware Federation of Housing Counselors. So I would encourage all of you to, especially Mr. Gessner over at the Land Trust, Land Bank. I would encourage you to want to reach out to our president so that we could help you make your programs more successful and a little less stress on you. Next slide, please. Okay, so I started this whole presentation out about fair housing and the importance of understanding fair housing as you go about passing your laws, especially when it comes to the rental aspect, working with landlords and tenants, and also with the land bank and with any other funds that are being dispersed when it relates to housing. We're having a upcoming Fair Housing Law 101, and it's going to be on June 4th. And you can find out more information on our website, which is www.hond.org, or you can email me at spikes@hond.org. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them. Thank you for the opportunity to really actually present. And now you all know the key role that Housing Opportunities plays in helping to diversify the city of Wilmington. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gladys Spikes. Thank you for the work that you do. And this is another way that we can get our residents that are renters to become homeowners. And we really appreciate that opportunity, and for all our council members to really share the good work of what you're doing. And of course, there are other housing agencies out there, but you're very hands-on, and I do appreciate working with you. We do have questions now, and we have Council Member Gray with her hand raised. We'll start with Council Member Gray and then go on to Council Member Brigida Fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Cabrera. First, hi Gladys, Ms. Spikes.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. I see that you're good too. Well, I just wanted to thank you for the supportive words for the down payment settlement loan program. I'm really pushing and advocating that, and have a meeting with the mayor soon to discuss it further. But thank you for that support. And earlier you mentioned the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. Were you discussing the HUD report that just came out?
Oh, I'm discussing, actually, I don't know, I'm not, no. The state of Delaware is required every 10 years to update that fair housing, what you just said, statewide fair housing impediments analysis and impediment study. And so there is a group here, it's called the Delaware State Fair Housing Task Force. And we're responsible for creating the document that Karen Horton and Nicole Waters gave an overview for. So I don't think that it's, I think that it's, it's a requirement, but I don't know that it's the one in the same document. It might be.
Oh, okay, well, this one came from HUD, but okay, thank you very much. And keep up the good work.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, Council Member Fields, you may go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is more so of a comment and a question. Hi, Ms. Gladys.
Hi, Brigida.
Ms. Gladys knows me from, we're going to both tell our age.
No, we really won't. Oh my God.
Yeah, we won't tell. But she's known me for all of my life. I'll just say that. And Ms. Gladys, I was so glad to hear the different types of things that your organization does. I want to know, how is it marketed? How are you getting that out to people? And I would like to, well, let me let you answer that question first.
Okay, so because we're a poor nonprofit organization, I have been very innovative in getting the word out. In fact, if you check out channel 28, I've been on several different of the programs there, just talking about, when we started to work with the mediation and trying to get those families to want to participate in the program so they could have a safe way to try to save their homes. I've done that. We've done public service announcements on the radio. We haven't done that lately. We do have a Facebook too. And from time to time, we are trying to get the word out through the Facebook. And then we do the internet. And I'm very proud to say that we now have a great website. And if you go online, you'll see all the different programs that we have to offer and lots of great information. In fact, you'll see the video that I wasn't able to show you today under fair housing. So we're always looking for ways to get the word out, because I know that we don't really have champions, so to speak. So I'm out there trying to give the pitch, because we need your support so that we can continue to provide the services that we do provide.
Well, Ms. Gladys, you already know me, so I'm gonna do what I can, because for me, I want to promote. I've been promoting affordable housing, home ownership, and I think it's a great partnership that you're doing with other people as well as the city of Wilmington. And I would like to further this conversation. For me, you sit down and meet and see how I can get this information out to my community. I just want to tell you, thank you so much for a job well done. I really appreciated your presentation. You have given me some knowledge that I had no clue of. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep up the good work, and I hope to talk to you very soon.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Fields. Is there any other members from City Council that have questions? I do not see any hands raised. Is there anyone from the public that may have a question? We still have a few members that have stuck with us. We thank you. I don't see any hands raised. So at this point, this concludes the meeting of the Community Development and Urban Planning. I know we ran a little late, but we had some excellent presentations and some ordinances to push forward. So I do thank everyone for participating, staying here with us. And at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. By the council member. Hello, and make sure somebody seconds it too. Can I get a motion?
Can I second it?
I haven't heard the first yet.
Yeah, she made the first. She did the first one.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, is it second?
Second.
Thank you. On the question, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much. Reminder that the next council meeting is going to be next Thursday at 6:30 a.m. via Zoom. Please go to our website so you can get the link. And also that this Saturday is the neighborhood cleanup across many, many neighborhoods in Wilmington. There's over 40 organizations participating. Please connect to the one nearest you. Feel free to call our council office. If you have any questions, grab some gloves, come out. We'll have a lot of the equipment there. But let's beautify and clean up our neighborhoods. Our city council office is 302-576-2140. Also, you can tune into Channel 22, either online or on Comcast Channel 22 to get more information about all the things that we're doing out. And there's 2 vaccinations this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, one of them at Price Run Park. And I will be getting my first vaccine. So please come out and join us. That's starting at 11 a.m., sponsored by Councilwoman Oliver and Senator Darius Brown. Remember to have everyone get vaccinated. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Good night.
Everyone that looks like. You please